What comes to your mind when I say an actuary or a CA or a financial consultant?
Book bug.
I'm going to change your perception today. Today, we have amongst us a graduate from the Indian Statistical Institute, Sinjini Sengupta. She's an erstwhile actuary turned into an award-winning writer. She is a columnist, public speaker by passion. She writes in several literary genres, ranging from social columns to poetry, novels to screenplays, and has won several national and international awards. In fictions, as a poet, she won the national level English poetry contest, Rhyme India, hosted by the Times of India in 2016. And several of her poems got published in feminist anthologies like She the Shakti, etc. In fictions, her story won the South Asia FON contest to be published into an anthology. One of her stories made it to a short film, got selected in the 69th Cannes Festival, 22nd Kolkata International Film Festival, among many others, and won the Best Film Award in Kaleidoscope, Boston. Best Director in Kolkata International, among many others. As a scriptwriter, she won the Best Screenplay Award in International Film Festival, Bigger Films, among 550 films from across the globe. And imagine, she's been an author and a writer just for about 2 years. If she's been able to do that in 2 years, what is she going to do in the years to come? I'll give you one more fact about her. Sinjini's first novel, Elixir, a woman's journey through conflicts into redemption through a coexistence in parallel existences in real and dream lives, has been recently published by Redomania. Elixir was launched by none other than the very accomplished veteran writer Anita Agnihotri at the Valley of Words International Literature and Arts Festival in Dehradun in November 2017. Now, the beauty was that Sinjini has been influenced by this author all her life, and her dream came true when she agreed to launch her book for her. I've known Sinjini as the president of the club that I was a member, and she is brilliant. So let's bring a storyteller to come on stage and give us the best story that we are able to hear.
So there is a saying that I had heard some time back, that wherever you are standing at any point in time, long back across time and space, there was someone who has drawn a circle around that spot, so that today, at this point, at this space, you will come and stand. It's kind of destined. So I'm not really a believer of God, so to say. I'm kind of agnostic. But something stuck with me. I joined Toastmasters a little over 2 years back. And it was about this time, 2 years back, that I delivered my CC1, the ice breaking, where I had to speak about myself. So today, I had no idea that I'll be standing here at this spot, but somebody must have drawn a circle around this spot, so that ATM was thought of by Mukesh Thakur, and Toastmasters was, everything fell in place to bring me here today in front of you. And here I am to deliver my CC1 once again, to talk about myself and my story. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening to me. So strangely enough, I think I'll adopt a format that we don't recommend too much in a Toastmasters meeting. That is a date and event format. I'll go back a little more back in the past. 4 years back, which is now, if it is 2017, it was 2013. 4 years back, I was a full-time actuary. I had a large team reporting to me. The SMS at the end of the month on my phone looked quite impressive. My daughter was 2 years back then. My office hours were typically 12 hours a day or so. It was normal life, right? So I would go to office, I would come back, I would not see my daughter, she would go to her daycare, and so things were happening. I was apparently successful, winning awards and trophies and everything, but I didn't have time for myself. Forget myself, I didn't even have time to, think about where things are going, but things were going all right. I mean, the engine was running, the car was driving on the road. But I guess something was not quite right. So what happens over the next 1 year, from 2013 to 14, is that I kind of fall face down unwell. I mean, if I tell you the list of the diseases I had acquired, I would surpass the time that has been allotted to me. But all the blood scan reports, all the X-ray reports, MRIs, everything sort of showed up on the face that, girl, you need to stop. Nothing's working for you. So they tried to fix one thing and the other will fall flat. So you name it, I had it. Several spinal protrusions, fibromyalgia, liver problems, whatever. And these are obviously physiological to begin with, but they have a huge psychosomatic side of it and result in a major depressive disorder, yours truly, anxiety disorder, yours truly. So I was all there. I was there at all the departments of the hospital you can perceive of. So, date and time, event-wise, 3 years back, 2014, the doctor kind of spells an ultimatum on me that, this model is not sustainable right at this point. You are a step away from quadriparalysis. That is what he says. You need to stop and take some rest, and then you hit it back. But if you are going to continue this way, it isn't long that you can look forward to. So I then put in my paper at my office. I had been bedridden for several months by then. One room in my house is still a physiotherapy center with all the traction machines and all set in it. So 3 years back, I took a sabbatical from my job, and I thought that it's only a matter of few months that I'll kind of, look after myself. I'll come back. I'll hit back the track. Life had other plans. So I had only thought that, adversity is bliss is kind of, it belongs to a textbook quotation. You can use it at the beginning of essays, and that's it. I don't know how it happened, but almost in a trance, I picked up the pen and I began to write. And almost around the same time, I mean a few months down, because 2 years back, I also joined Toastmasters. Now, in my life, I always thought that I have a few weaknesses, all of us do, but my major weaknesses were that 1, I was too emotional, 2, I was very talkative, and 3, I was kind of vulnerable, not too sure about myself, self-doubt, whatever you call it. Like, we all are inflicted with those problems. Writing and speaking kind of turned those weaknesses into strengths for me. I began to write in all the genres that that appeared to me. I wrote non-fiction as well as fiction. So in non-fiction, I think I have to give this to Toastmasters, because if I had to write my speeches, which were like at least 800 to 1,000 words, and so it automatically came that I was writing down something, and then I realized that if I'm trying to make a point and influence people, whether I speak or whether it is written words, it is still the process to the same end. I was really communicating, and many of my Toastmasters speeches actually, when I went back and edited and formatted them, went up to the Huffington Post and Youth Kiowas and many other very big platforms where they now appear as columns, and there are so many readers across the world who have written back to me. So I think Toastmasters and the work that we do in terms of speech just is one shade ahead of writing. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. In fiction, I again started to write whatever came to mind, and I was writing poetry, I was writing short stories, I in fact also wrote a screenplay. Now something strange happened with me. This is actually from the time when I was still working. So one night, and I used to work for 1 to 10 shifts. So at 11 in the night, I'm waiting in the office cab and waiting for the driver G to come and start the cab. It would drop many people on the way and then reach me home. So this idea of this story suddenly had struck me. that, I was feeling very depressed, and typically those days what was happening is, I have a little one, she was 3 years old then, and she would go to the play school in the morning, and by the time she would come back, I would start for office. By the time I would go home by 11 in the night, she would be asleep. I mean, that was how my days used to be in those days, and I was kind of depressed. So this idea came to me that, what am I really doing with my life? Where is it going? And what if I could be happier than this? I mean, there has been a checklist. I have ticked off many of those things that were on the bucket list, but really, what is happening with me? And this idea compelled me to bring out the office BlackBerry and write out a story that came to my mind at that point in time. So the story was very simple. That this woman, just like me, she comes out of office on her way back home. She enters this coffee shop. She asks for a cup of coffee, and then she also asks for a glass of water. Now the water she is served is not water, it's elixir. So that day when she goes back home, in her night, in the dream, she is back in the coffee shop. And from every night thereafter, every time she falls asleep, she lives that life. And every time she comes back, she sleeps off there and comes back here and she lives another life. And while this life is reality and all the stark and murk of reality, that life can be beautiful. So that is where it started. I forgot all about it. I blogged it on my blog and left it there. About a year later than that, which is 2015, my husband, who is again, he has been into theatre all his life, but then it gets difficult to arrange things these days. So he said that, he was very kind of worked up with the story. It never left him, he said. So he said, I want to make a short film out of it. And that was also the time when I left my job, so we were kind of hand to mouth. And I was like, doesn't it take money? So we dissolved quite a few fixed deposits. Many of our friends, very good friends, did a bit. 2,000 rupees here, 2,500, 3,000, 5,000. We crowdfunded, we dissolved a few fixed deposits, we made the film. And then everything went off the roof. Elixir got screened at the Cannes Film Festival, 69th Cannes Film Festival last year. And then it went on to of course, we won quite a few awards. We got screened at several places. More than the awards, trophies or certificates, what really mattered is there were so many people across the world. Somebody who was a Chinese, somebody who was a Polish scholar, they wrote back to me and said that this is my story, Sinjini, how did you know about it? And life changed. And life changed in the biggest way when at the end of one of the screenings, we just stood there customarily, taking the questions, answering them, explaining the process, etc. Where this guy suddenly comes up to me and gives me his visiting cards and says that, I would like to sign you, or would you like to write this into a book? I was like, what? I don't even have a manuscript. Turns out that he's a founder of a publishing house, and he signed me on the spot, on blind faith. Because he said that I have seen your blogs, I have read that, you have a strong voice, and this story belongs to a book. So this was last year, 2016, end of the year actually, around this time when I signed my first book contract without even knowing a word of the manuscript. And I have grown up on stories that J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times, so I knew that there was a long road ahead of me, and this happened with me. I was like pinching myself into reality. So even when I signed a contract, I was still keeping that away. I was doing other things, but I was not really daring it. So anyway, the book happened. I wrote a literary fiction. The book, actually, when it came out of the press and I was flying to the Valley of Words in Dehradun, where I was actually invited very fortunately as a keynote speaker. So I picked up a few copies from his office, and I flew it. And I think for the first time I read it as a reader. He called me in the evening, so he called me at 12 in the morning and said that I was at the airport, that the Amazon link is going live now. You can tell that on the stage while you speak. And in the evening at around 8 o'clock, he calls me and says that, guess what? I'm like, what? It was at number 3 and Amazon's Hot and New releases. And fortunately enough, it just stayed that way, number 3, number 4, number 5, all the other, most of the other competitors were like international publications. It just stayed that way through all this today, 17th of December and through this last 1 month, I've been checking it every morning and it has kind of maintained its position there. And this readership came not just because, it cannot come from family and friends. It came because I was writing columns. It came because I was speaking. I delivered my first TEDx talk last November. So it came from a kind of community that grew beyond myself and beyond my family and friends. And Toastmasters, blogging, and all the other work that I have done, I never planned it. I never strategized that if I do this, I will get that. I really went by my instinct. And all of them, they bore such sweet fruits today for me. And I hold up this thing in my hand, and I remember that, I finished the book, and then I called him and said that, Deepaka, you know what? There has been a couple of times where I thought I would write it the other way or something, but I just finished the book, the last page, and I think I'm very proud of it. So, frankly, it was a miraculous journey for me, but I have only learned that miracles do happen in life, and I hope that miracles continue, not just for me, but for each of us here. We have to trust the process. There were so many contests, like I was one of the competitors at Audition, in May. I mean, if I had won that, this wouldn't perhaps have happened. So I have to trust my wins, and I have to also trust the places where I do not win. I have learned to leave it to, some other force in the universe, and I really believe that all the things that happen with all of us have a purpose, have a reason, and that is at least how my life has moved forward from where, I couldn't have imagined, and from to this place that I stand before you with the book in my hand, so proud, and as a speaker, as an author, which I had no clue about. So, frankly, let us join the dots backwards at the end of our life. Let us enjoy this journey. The journey is so beautiful. Thank you.